Welcome to the Billy Shultz Music Podcast.
Laptop, dude, and that had to be on my end. I just got a new laptop, so I'm trying to like get everything set back up. So that had to be on my end, I think.
Gotcha. What'd you get?
I got the one of the newest MacBooks, the 2021 MacBook Pro.
The one that has like the, I don't know, just the beast computer.
Yeah,
M1 or whatever.
The whole M1 deal that they're doing. Yeah. It was out of necessity. I wasn't really planning on it, but my other computer just died out of nowhere, and then it was either pay the money to fix that one or just like invest that money into a new one, which I needed anyway. So here we are.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that. I just settled with the M1 Air, the MacBook Air, and it's been working great. So I'm happy with it. It's better than my old computer. I had like a 2014 Mac Mini.
I had a 20. I still have a 2012 Mac Mini that it technically works, but I tried to boot it up and like during all this to see if I could do anything on it, and it's just like it's not having it. And my other MacBook was a 2015, and it was working fine. I mean, like I said, I could have used an upgrade, but it was working fine. It just crapped out one day. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, I've been dealing with that, but we're here. We're back.
Yeah.
Well, look, dude, I'm Billy. Good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me here. If you want to just kick it off, introduce yourself, tell anybody who's going to watch who you are, where you come from, what you do. Just start us from square one. Yeah.
So I'm Jordan Steele. I am now 22 years old, and I grew up in South Alabama, which is where I'm back now. I've lived in Nashville for a few years playing over there, and I just play guitar. I teach guitar online, and working on writing some songs, trying to get some albums out.
Nice.
That's pretty much what I do.
Hell yeah, bro. So when did you start playing? Were you how old were you? Like, what kind of got you into playing from the beginning?
Well, I officially started when I was 10. But I literally always, when I was like 4 or 5, probably because my dad was basically everything I listened to, my dad listens to. And, but like, I used to watch like shows like Drake and Josh and just random old shows. And I'm like, dude, guitar is sick. I want to play guitar. But I thought it was like, you have to be some kind of like special person to play guitar. And then finally, I had a guitar, I had like a Squire, and I got on YouTube. I couldn't play it. And I was like, how to play guitar? And then Marty Shultz came up, and he taught me how to play a song. And I was like, wait, I can do this. This is possible. And then that was like when I was 10. And so ever since then, I've been playing pretty much every day.
That's awesome. And yeah, Marty seems to be the guy that a lot of people start with, because he's been around for years.
Yeah. Oh, dude, ever since I've been playing, he's been around.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny. And I get every now and then I'll get people asking me if we're related. I guess because our last names have like similar letters in them, but people will always be like, "Are you related to Marty Shultz?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know him at all. I'm sure he's a great guy, but it's so funny how we get that comparison sometimes." But yeah, so when you were younger, you said you guys listened to the same music. You and your dad, was it like a rock influence? What kind of music was it?
Oh yeah, so it's a lot of Van Halen, a lot of like 70s, 80s hard rock kind of stuff. So, or like Scorpions, Van Halen, and I don't even know if you've heard of this band, but UFO and Michael Schenker group. He's my favorite guitar player. Michael Schenker's my favorite guitar player, and I'm sure you know the Scorpions with like Rocky Like a Hurricane and all those. Mm-hmm. Anyways, one of the guitar player's brothers named Michael Schenker, and he was in this band UFO. I just grew up listening to this just late 70s kind of early 80s rock is kind of like where I like early Van Halen stuff, and I really haven't moved past that at all. I've got into some blues and some jazz and stuff like that, but like my core, like what I listen to is like influenced by is like 77 to like 84, maybe 1984, and that's like Van Halen, UFO, Scorpions, some Rat, Dokken.
Yeah, super guitar driven.
Oh, I mean everything. And so that was like, if I'm listening to like a band, that's always that until I get to like a bunch of instrumental shred guitar stuff, which is like Satriani, Steve Vai, Guthrie Goat, and Paul Gilbert. Just a bunch of shred guitar players.
Yeah, the classics. It sounds like.
Yeah, so that's like the only thing I've ever listened to in my life, really.
Oh, so you don't really listen to much like new rock or new metal or any kind of that, any of the new generation at all?
No, I listen to, it's kind of weird. Nowadays I listen to the same music I listened to when I was like 12 or 13.
Hey, all that stuff is
I haven't
classic, man.
changed. I haven't changed at all. I've never, but also at the same time, I kind of don't want to be, I like the influence that those players had on me. And I kind of want to, I don't want to change. I don't want to change and keep on stealing. I want to like lock in that and try to be creative upon that. Cause that's what I like.
Sure.
If that makes sense. It's kind of limiting. Obviously, I keep learning from new people and all that, but I really want to just lock in. I don't even listen to much music anymore, but if I do, it's definitely one of those same things I've been listening to my whole life.
Sure. I mean, when it boils down to it, you got to do what you like. You got to listen to what you like. And, if you try and it is one thing, sure, to try and like, I guess, break outside a box that maybe you're creating for yourself. But at the same time, it's like if you're being, if you're creative inside that box, it's like if you start pushing yourself to do things you don't want to do, it can, that motivation can kind of tend to
it's not even that for me. Cause I found myself to be like a very curious person, but it's like, I don't want to take from too many people, like, and like have them rub off on my playing too much. And then I kind of just like, I don't want to always say, oh, that's like that guy's thing. Like I do a lot of, everybody's like, that's like Eddie Van Halen style things. And it's like, I'm okay with that. I don't want to be like, sound like, okay, that sounds like this guy, that sounds like that guy. And I'm just like stealing like that. I slowly, hopefully will create my own voice on the instrument. And so that's kind of the reason. It's not even that I don't like it. I probably would love tons of the music. I don't even let myself listen to it.
Sure. And that's because you're saying you're afraid that the influence will kind of rub off on your playing style.
Yeah, exactly. I want to sit down, and if I come up with a new idea, it was, already like studied the people, I love listening to, and they've definitely made me who I am on the guitar. But then as other influences, like I just want to be able to be kind of have my own ear and be like, oh, that was interesting. Someone else probably has done it, and in a way it was stole from somebody else, but I don't want to like continue to like my whole life to just steal other people's interesting things that make them sound like them. I want to slowly find, my own voice. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. That makes total sense. Who did you say was one of your biggest influences just a second ago?
So my favorite guitar player is Michael Schenker, and then Eddie Van Halen, like my top two. Or top one. They're both number one to me.
Eddie Schenker? No, sorry.
Michael Schenker.
Michael Schenker.
So, yeah, and then Eddie Van Halen. Michael Schenker's not as known, but he's just my favorite guitar player.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about him. Is he in UFOs? Is he?
Yeah, so he actually, the Scorpions got like really big, I guess, like late 70s, early 80s with their kind of hard rock stuff. But they've been around. They're like a German band, so they're German. Schenker, I guess, is a German name. And Michael Schenker, his brother Rudolf Schenker, who's still in the Scorpions, they were like early 70s. They started the Scorpions, had an album come out called Lonesome Crow. But then Michael left, went to this band called UFO, which is more like a British rock band at the time. And that's where I just listened to like all those albums. They have a great live album called Strangers in the Night, which is like, my top two favorite albums is Strangers of the Night, which is a live album, and then Van Halen 2. That's like, if I want to listen to a song, it's one of those usually. Basically, he did that. And then I guess in 78-ish, he didn't want to be in that band anymore. He wanted to go his own direction. So ever since then, he's had his own like Michael Schenker group. And he's what I like about his play, he goes through evolutions as a musician. He went very, himself. Kind of, and then late 80s, he kind of got more in that pop rock, but then he's like instrumental stuff, and it's very kind of classical sounding in a way, like how he approaches. He's got some acoustic instrumental albums that to me sound like I'm listening to like Bach or something, but it's on guitar, and it's not theoretically or like very complicated or very complicated. It has a nice melody to it, and it's just a nice song. And so I don't know, that's my favorite player.
Oh yeah, was UFO, did they sound sort of like Scorpions? Because I know Scorpions was very much so like guitar driven, harmonies, the whole nine. Did it have that vibe, or was it different?
It was very guitar driven, but it was definitely not as kind of as pop and melodic and harmonized and all that kind of. It's not as sing along as the Scorpions, I guess. It's just kind of I don't even know what to kind of put them into. It's just like basically to me they're like a good kind of British rock band from the 70s. and they just have a great guitar player. It's like that writes like cool riffs and leads and stuff like that.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. So you said you've been playing since you were what, like 5?
No, 10 years old. Yeah.
10 years. Got it. And did you have any like formal education, or did you take lessons, or are you totally self-taught?
So starting off, I remember the day exactly. I got on a computer. Like, computer was the slowest computer ever created back in the day. And I typed in how to, I remember the day. It was like in December of this year. And my brother and I used to like trade off cutting the lawn. And so he would cut the front or back. And I cut it. And then he was like, my dad's out there weeding. And so I was like bored. I was like, okay, the guitar's been sitting around. Maybe I can hit something on there and learn how to play it until there's somebody to play with, I guess. Cause I just wanted to play football. I would play baseball and football and basketball. And that's what I did. Anyways, I got bored. I typed in on YouTube. I was like, I bet something will come up on YouTube. And I typed in how to play guitar. First video I clicked on was Marty Short's Black Magic Woman, like intro. And I just watched through it. I picked through it and I played it and I was like, I think I sound really good. I probably played it absolutely horribly, but for some reason I was like, that's good. And it just inspired me. I was like, wait, I can actually play this. And then ever since then, it was just a lot of just learning new songs from Marty Shortz just every day. I couldn't teach myself that at that point. It was just him in the videos. And just like, oh, that's a cool riff to learn. Like Back in Black or something, Smoke on the Water, and just going through the list of songs forever. And then part of my problem was I always wanted to play lead guitar, and I just jumped way ahead. And I was like, I want to play leads. And then so I was like learning the pentatonic scale and started learning solos, even though I couldn't I couldn't do anything on the guitar, like even rhythmically, really. I knew a couple riffs, and I was like, no, I want to play leads. And I jumped right into that, missed so many good steps of learning how to play guitar at all. And then probably a year or two in, I finally got a teacher. My parents got me a teacher for a little while. But I guess the problem with me is I never worked on the stuff that, like, I play guitar all the time, but I just never worked on the thing. Like, my teacher was trying to show me the notes on the fretboard and like scale shapes and licks and songs. And I just never worked on it, which is not good. I was never a good student, I guess. And because I just wanted to like listen to songs, like, that's a cool song, let me learn that. And then I just randomly would learn a bunch of random stuff that made sense. But if someone told me you need to learn that, it was I couldn't do it. It was hard for me to will myself to learn it. But I had a teacher for a little while, and I didn't really get anything out of it because, like I said, I didn't pay attention. But one thing that he left me, he gave me a lot of papers, like everything we worked on, he wrote down. There was tab for it and all that. And then so I was probably like 12 or 13 when I was taking lessons with him. But then I stopped and did my own thing. And then finally I was like, I wonder if anything he was teaching me was actually cool. And I started going through all his stuff that he taught me like a year or so prior, but I never learned. And so that was like learning actually like some theory, the notes on the fret, actually understand how to play rhythm and things like that. And so I kind of had some some teaching, but I didn't properly, learn it. Most everything was learning online, watching people play and them teaching. And then I had another teacher for a few years later, but I guess I didn't really have any like formal teaching until I went to a community college and studied some music and had a jazz guitar teacher for a few years. And that's like the only thing. It wasn't the nicest teacher, but I guess that was formal training. Everything else has just been YouTube and just being curious and like, watching somebody like, that's really cool. And just sitting down for hours and being like, okay, until I can learn what they're doing. And slowly learning how everything makes sense on the guitar.
Right.
That was a big rant. I'm sorry. I don't even know.
No, that's perfect. I mean, I'm here for it, bro. That's exactly why I wanted you on the podcast. I was like, I know you got plenty you can share with us. So, do you think that like learning those songs and then just with a little bit of theory that you were kind of picking up, whether it's from your teacher or whatnot, kind of helped you understand it all, and like things started coming together on more of like a technical side, if that makes sense?
Yes, no, for sure. Because like before, I never even learned like a whole song. It was kind of obnoxious. My dad used to make fun of me. He was like, I could play like 30 seconds of a song, but I knew like probably like 50 songs or something, like the riffs of it. And I would just play the riffs. But in the videos, it was just like put your finger on the 3rd fret and then go to the 5th fret and do all that. There was no, true understanding of what is happening musically. It was just like kind of random stuff. And if there was any lead things I was learning, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, okay, I could do it because they told me to put my finger on that fret, but I don't know why that makes any sense to do that. And then, yeah, so definitely when I started learning the theory, like what I didn't even know what notes were. I started jamming with like some band and like, this is in this key. And I'm like,
You're like, what?
Turns out I didn't like, I realized now I didn't know what I was doing then. I only played, like I was doing a solo. I didn't know it was this, but it was A minor pentatonic, which is like right here on the 5th fret. And then the same shape on the 12th fret, which is E minor pentatonic. And that's, if I ever played, it didn't matter what song it was, if there was a backing track or if it was a new song I learned and I just wanted to jam over it. It made no musical sense because I didn't understand any of that. And that's just what I did for literally the first 3-4 years of my guitar playing, was literally just random stuff. And I didn't understand it then. But yeah, then I started learning the notes and started realizing like the scale shapes and how the music. Then I started singing. I went back, learned some theory, and I look back at the song, I'm like, oh, okay, I understand why that solo went that way, because it's kind of just following the scale shape, and that's a lick you can do, or like even a chord progression. I'm like, okay, I understand that chord progression now because it's walking down the scale shape. We're in this key, and it started making complete sense at that point.
Were you learning like scales and chords just on your own, or were you just, the more that you saw them through like tablature and like learning, you kind of just started remembering like, oh yeah, okay, so that was a C, so that's a C, and then now I've also played that here? Or were you like specifically did you get to a point where you were trying to learn the theory, the scales, the chords on your own and connect them to like what you were learning?
So that's a good question. I kind of like the way I did it. So I never had anybody teach me I had someone teach me the pentatonic, but I didn't. It sounds weird. I know that I could have found it on YouTube, but I didn't know how to call it. Like I didn't even know. Like now I know I can look up the major scale and all the positions and things like that. I can find the information. I didn't even know what I was looking for. Like I didn't know how to like verbalize it and to look it up online. I didn't have a teacher at that time. And so I don't know where I heard somewhere, but I just somehow learned that, or maybe my teacher wrote it down, that the letters in music are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like that's the only possible musical letters. Right now, obviously we can have like alterations like with a sharp or a flat, but it's still that letter. And then somehow I learned that a major scale is 7 notes, right? And so if it's 7 notes, it's got to be that. It's got to be one of those 7 letters, right? If that makes sense. So every major scale has some order of those letters. They might have a sharp on some or flat on some, but it's still those letters. And I figured that out. And so I just wrote down, I was like, C major, I somehow learned, I didn't know it on the guitar, was C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And I didn't know the notes on the fretboard, but I thought this was kind of fun, but I had a snark tuner and I was like, okay, it knows the notes when I'm tuning. So what if it knows and so I started playing. I was like, wait, I hit that note. It says it's a G note. I didn't know there was a G note, but the tuner did. And so what I started doing was, I had the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B kind of written out. And I just walked until I found a C and I was like, okay, that's C. And I was like, okay, now I got to find a D. And I just started walking up. And then I heard somewhere that, all the shred guys play 3-note per string scales, which, you just play 3 notes on one string, and you follow the scale shape, go to 3 notes on the next string. And so over time, literally using a tuner, I found C here. So I got to play 3 notes of the scale. That's going to be C, D, E. So I know where C is. I got to find D and E. And I just used the tuner like that. And I was like, okay, the next note's F, but I got to play on the next string. And then I searched around until I found that. And then I did that on all 6 strings, and I wrote it out in a notebook. I had a purple notebook, and I wrote down what I found. I was like, okay, 8th fret there, 10th fret there, 12th fret. And then I would walk through it each day, get the muscle memory. And I was like, okay, now I know how to play it right there. How do I see all these other people shredding all over the fretboard. I was like, how does that even make sense? How are they doing that? And I was like, wait a second, what if I just put my index finger on the 2nd note there? And then I was watching the tuner. I was like, okay, that's a D note. So that I know it's an E, F. Okay, now I got to go to the next string to find a G. And so I wrote down a new scale shape, and I did that a million times, basically 7 times. And that's how I learned the scale shapes. I literally used a tuner, and I wrote it out in a notebook, and every day I just walked through up and down. And then I started, again, like with the songs, I was in the different scale shapes I was working on. I was seeing, oh wait, they're using that scale shape in that, in that part of the solo. I might like learn the Crazy Train solo, and it's like it's up here, and I'm like, wait a second, that's just that scale shape that I was coming up with, which I didn't come up with it, but I kind of found it out. And so that's how I kind of learned the theory and the scale shapes, and then started seeing it in different songs. And then I started music just started making sense. I learned a solo, and I was like, wait, oh, he's just in that scale shape. So I know that scale shape connects with this other scale shape. I was like, oh, that's what he did in the solo. So it's just all started connecting once I started doing that.
You are a madman, bro. That's crazy. No, that's just such a unique way of using the tools that you have to learn music. Like, that's incredible, the way that you put that together. That's awesome, bro. It's really cool to hear that.
Yeah, that's all I had at the time.
Well, no, and I mean, it's just, like I said, you got to use the tools that you have, and to be able to like just have even just the thought of like, wait, I can just use this tuner to show me where all the notes are. I mean, when I was that age, I never would have thought to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how I came up with the idea, but it worked out. It was kind of cool.
And so from there, I know that you're doing lessons now. When did you start to realize that you wanted to start teaching?
I've always I feel like coming up, always learning on YouTube, I was always watching YouTube videos. It was just kind of natural for me to start posting like lessons and post videos of me playing online and things like that. And so I come up with a cool lick. I was like, oh, let's just post a video of the, how to play that lick or something like that. Or weird, I think very weird about music. So some people don't like my approach, but I'll come up with a lick and like, oh, we can do that. And I'll post that because that's just kind of how I learned playing guitar, was on YouTube and watching other guys. And so it's kind of natural to do that. And then I guess I could get comments, or people would tell me like, there's like online lessons was a thing. I never took online lessons from somebody. At that point, like on Zoom, I didn't even know what Zoom was or Skype or whatever. And so just kind of me naturally posting that, and I used to post a lot on Facebook, and then people would say things, oh, I'd love to learn that. And I was like, well, I could post a video of it, but I didn't even think at the time that I could do like a Skype in-person call like that. And so it was in 2020 is when I started giving online lessons. And it was just kind of after everybody kind of telling me over a few years of me playing and like, oh, I would love to learn that. And so I just started offering that, and I got it set up. I was really nervous because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to call people on Zoom or Skype or whatever and like meet. I was meeting random strangers all the time. And I'm like, how's this I've never done that. It was just a new thing for me. And so I started doing that, and it was just really fun. I really enjoyed the aspect of online teaching because they can video I think the coolest thing is they can video the lesson and watch it back at any time. Mm-hmm. And that's like, you can't, what are you going to, in an in-person lesson, like pull out a camera and like video the whole thing? So I think there's a lot of benefits to doing that. And the benefits is, you can teach people all over the world, and you get to meet a lot of people. And so I just started doing that, and that's what I do now. It's really fun.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Is that your main gig right now is doing the lessons?
Yeah, right now. So I was in Nashville, and I was playing with the corporate wedding band a lot, and that was kind of my main thing. I was doing lessons, but I got married, and we wanted to move back down to South Alabama, and so I gig sometimes. Right now, I'm still trying to get some gigs going around here, but yeah, I'm just doing online lessons and I'm trying to work on an album. I'm trying to get into the writing aspect of music, really.
Sure. And the album is going to be like a solo thing? Are you looking to put a band together?
That's a good question. I'm trying to write the stuff, but I would love to find a drummer, and I'm gonna definitely have a band, but I don't know if I can find somebody to help out in the writing process. I'm not sure what's going to go on. I'm writing different ideas, and then eventually I'll put it all together and see what happens.
Yeah, makes sense. Are you? And I know that you're doing the social media thing too. Is that what's your like main focus right now? Are you is it like the album and getting out to playing live? Are you more focused on getting new clients for lessons? Are you trying to make more social media content? Like, what's the main focus?
Dude, that's a good question. It's definitely the main focus right now is social media, because that's literally, it feels like my day job in a way. is like making content and, you know, getting people to enjoy my stuff and try to make better content. And then, yeah, the side thing, but the other thing is, yeah, writing and creating that, and then trying to figure out how to, you know, network in the new environment I am and get some more gigs. And that's pretty much, yeah, definitely social media right now is the main little focus I have.
Sure. And how are you coming up with content ideas? Is it just licks and lessons that you're wanting to teach people, or like what's your main way for thinking of content that you like to post?
Yeah, it's just I don't know, just random things, or maybe like people in my Zoom lessons like will ask certain questions, like, oh, that's a cool thing, I should make a video on that, or just different things like that will come up. And yeah, a lot of it's just like kind of licks or concepts in a way. I'll kind of like our approaches to things that not specific licks, or different way to looking at the fretboard and visualizing scale shapes and trying to make sense of that. And I've come up with cool licks and like, oh, here's a cool lick, and then, you know, and when I learn like small, I try to do like kind of more series like content. Like here's a little lick, but then here's how we can build up to, you know, a more complicated thing with that. And because at least for me, that makes it more simple when I can see how a complicated thing actually can shrink down to a more simple, you know, simple lick. And so doing that is kind of my main thing. I know a lot of people do like song lessons and things like that, but that's never something I feel like I would. Everybody else is doing a great job at that. You know, I don't want to like compete doing that, and, you know, they're teaching the song perfectly. I don't think I'm going to teach the song any better. So, but I might be able to come up with some cool licks and, you know, explain how to, you know, look at the fretboard in a different way and develop different techniques on the guitar. So that's kind of what I do. That's what I, you know, every day I'm trying to think of, you know, I'm always trying to get better at guitar too. And so, you know, if there's a certain thing I'm trying to get better, I'm like, oh, that in this like a different, you know, way of looking at it helped out. I'll just share that as a lesson online.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you have like a specific practice routine that you do, or is it just like you just kind of sit down and play whatever, or is it like a structure to it? Like, what's your practice routine like?
Yeah, so right now, to be honest, so actually last year I hurt my arm, and I don't know if it's some kind of tendon stuff, and so I got to be careful. I can't play guitar as much as I'd like to, but I used to have a super strict practice routine of, you know, whatever I'm working on, and that's what I would do. Like, that was like the thing. I was like, get warmed up and then do, you know, if it was techniques or licks or songs that I needed to work on, I definitely would work on that. And that's part, I mean, that's honestly one of the most beneficial things to getting better at the instrument, is literally having a structured thing that you do every day. You know, whether someone plays like 30 minutes a day or 3 hours a day, is if it's structured, it's going to be really, really good. If it is just randomly playing, like for me, I'm trying to randomly play and kind of noodle and jam around, because I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to write songs, and just practicing licks over and over again is not the best way to write songs, I've found. Actually just jamming, like, oh, that's a cool idea, how can I expand upon that? And then, you know, laying some tracks down and seeing what ideas. So I'm kind of going more in that direction at the moment, but in the past, definitely I'm very big on having a structured practice routine.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing during the pandemic that I really tried to start hashing out is putting together like, okay, where do we need to get better? Spend this much time on it every single day. And it does wonders. Like it, you know, I think people really, like, some people sleep on how beneficial a structured practice routine is. So, but you're
Absolutely.
saying most of yours right now is focused around kind of more of the writing as opposed to, any kind of like technical stuff or learning riffs or anything like that. It's more focused on the writing aspect.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm just trying to like jam around and then have my ear like, oh, that's a cool thing. How, you know, it's literally, I'm not trying. Usually there are some technique things I'm still, you know, working on getting, like, improving upon and like applying it to my overall playing, but that's definitely kind of in the background. And it's just kind of a slow process for that. Mostly it's kind of just jamming and trying to figure out different riffs and things like that.
Makes sense. We're running up against the clock a little bit here. I don't know if you got the timer there, but it limits me to only 40 minutes for some reason. But what I like to end these with is I like to ask what's the most beneficial thing that you could, like, beneficial advice you could give to somebody who's just starting to learn the guitar.
Oh, okay. That's just be super curious. And just be, that's what I would just be, like a sponge, and be, oh, like, hear another, you know, listen to all kinds of, I don't listen to as much things nowadays, but I'll just be really curious. If I used to go to like guitar stores and I hear other people play, and I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. Don't be like super judgmental. Just be super open-minded and curious, and try to learn as many new things as possible. And just like literally, if you're on your phone and you hear a song, just like, oh, that's a cool thing. Let me try to learn that real quick. And even if you don't accomplish actually learning it, just kind of doing that throughout the day, or like hearing a song on the radio and then getting home and, oh, let me try to learn that riff. That was a cool riff. Just being as curious and just kind of, I guess, have the mindset that you can do it for sure. Don't be like, oh, I can't do it that at all or something like that. Just be like, okay, how is that even possible? And just being curious. And you can just be curious looking at the guitar and be like, okay, what happens? Just like, what happens if I do the same thing one fret up? What if I, instead of that, go, just be like super curious and like open-minded and be like, okay, that sounds really cool. Or that doesn't really, I don't like the sound of that. That's totally cool too. But just being curious and learning as much things as possible is absolutely the way to go. Don't be like, no, I'm only learning metal riffs or something like that. Which, if that's what you want to do, I guess that's fine. But I like the curious aspect of like going out, seeing different musicians, how they approach it, and just trying to learn little things here or there and how you can apply it to the guitar.
Absolutely. You have a website or anything where people can go to like for like lessons, or is that all through social media?
The best way is through social media. I have a Shopify, or I just started a Patreon, you could just message me on like Instagram or something. It's a good way to reach out for sure.
Sure. And what's the handle for all your socials so that anybody watching, if they can get in touch with you?
It's just Jordan Steele, Steele.
Oh.
And on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Beautiful. Is there anything else you want to share? Or I know you brought the guitar out. I didn't know if you wanted to jam a little bit or show off a little bit or something.
No. I don't want to show off. To talk a little bit.
I feel it, brother. Well,
no, it's fun, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate it again. Thank you for taking the time and sharing your wisdom. And it's been a pleasure. I'm going to probably try and get this posted on Sunday. So I'll send you like a link to it before it gets posted so you can double check, make sure everything looks good. But again, I appreciate you taking the time, brother.
Cool. Thank you so much. That sounds awesome. I appreciate you having me. That's always. That's really fun. I've never done this before.
Hey, and hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, totally. Nice meeting you, man.
Yeah, same to you, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.